right. So let's see. So we'll be sitting for about half an hour with a little bit of guidance, not too much. And at the end of the sit, I'll be kind of guiding us towards what my talk will be about, which is the practice of wise view, which I hope, how many of you were here last week with James? Some people? Okay, some of you were. And if not, don't worry about it. But he talked about the Four Noble Truths. And like they're like the Buddhist teachings, they're all like puzzle pieces. So, and I think wise view is a really, really important topic. And it segues nicely into what James was talking about. But again, even if you weren't here, you didn't listen to that, I hope it will be still very relevant. So what I will talk about is very relevant to my own practice. And I have a hunch that it will be very relevant to your practice as well, or it already is. So we'll see about that. So invite you to find a posture that is supportive. So for about the next half hour, if you want to sit on the floor, you can do that. If you want to lie down, if you're in pain or very uncomfortable, it can be actually really nice to lie down too. So please feel free to take that as an option. You can also do meditation standing up. So an often overlooked meditation posture is actually standing meditation. Yeah. Okay, so maybe we're just starting with just inviting the awareness to where your body is in contact right now with the ground or your seat. So if you're sitting on a chair, you could start with just feeling into your feet on the ground, if they are on the ground. And really bringing all of your attention to either to your feet or to your seat. And just noticing what kind of information is there right now. So information could be, so with my feet, I can feel, so I'm barefoot right now. I can feel bare feet on wood. I can feel that the surface of the wood is smooth and it's warm. So that's information that I can get from my feet right now. And so you could just see what's there for you right now. So nothing in particular needs to happen. We're just turning the awareness towards experience that might fly under the radar otherwise. Because chances are that until I asked you to check in there, you were not aware of your feet or your seat. And that can be a really important practice as we are looking for an anchor where we're resting the awareness, and an anchor that doesn't feel threatening or that is not pain or discomfort. And so chances are, regardless of how else you're feeling, that maybe feeling into your feet is okay right now, or feeling into your seat is okay right now. So, and you could keep that as an anchor. Or you can also, and know for many of you, you use the sensations of the breath as an anchor. So just finding something you can feel. and that feels stable enough and safe enough. And if you're using the breath as your anchor, then it can be helpful at the start of a sitting to just make a few rounds of breath a little bit longer and deeper. So, as a way to really connect with the sensations, really feeling them so they become more real or more into the foreground. And also as a way to help your system to just down regulate a little bit, especially if you feel a little bit stressed or a little bit anxious. So we want to make it easy or easier to transition into practice space. Maybe just noticing if there's anything you can soften right now. So maybe your jaw, the belly, your shoulders, or maybe your attitude. And so, first in our practice, we want to really choose where our attention is with the anchor. And as we keep bringing the attention back to the anchor over and over, things will start to settle themselves. Just like the snow globe that we're putting down. And so putting your anchor down is inviting your system to start to settle. And as the mind starts to settle, we can actually notice or name or pay attention to other experiences without being carried away by them so quickly. So we're with our anchor, but also being aware of what is here in experience right now. Sometimes it's helpful to name it. Sometimes we make it the center of our attention. And then if we get lost in it, we come back to our anchor. Sometimes it can be helpful to name the experience. So, for example, we can say planning, planning, or itching, itching, work, work. And then seeing if it is possible for you to be aware of an experience instead of being the experience or being identified with the experience. Noticing and maybe naming the presence of experience, but then also noticing and naming the absence of experience when it has changed. And where's the mind now? Has it left the room? Can you bring it back? Connecting back with the felt sense of your anchor, starting over again there. And keeping it very, very simple. So now I want to invite you to shift your awareness to from the what, what is the experience, to how are you relating to the experience. And especially with things that you don't like. And see if you can separate the experience from your attitude towards or your relationship with the experience. Can you bring curiosity to that? What are you becoming aware here? Is there resistance or clinging or striving? Is there trying to get your experience to be different from what it is right now? And how is that working for you? And now seeing if it is possible to either let go of this need for experience to be different, or allowing that attitude to be here too in the bigger field of awareness. And then seeing if you can find something neutral or even something pleasant in your experience right now. And being aware of that too. So maybe the sensation of the breath feels neutral or pleasant. Can you bring that in? Or being here in community, maybe that is something that is good, that is brings a sense of gratitude or even joy, bringing that in. And what else is here? That is out of awareness, not seen because not looked for. Maybe a bigger sense of ease or peace that you haven't been aware of. That is somewhere in this bigger container or stillness. This stillness around and between all of experiences. And so in a moment, we will be ending this practice with the sound of the bell. Thank you for your practice. So just taking a moment to stretch the body. If it wants to move, it can stretch out your legs. So what I would like to do, and Teddy, for breakout groups, I would like to put you into groups about 3 people, and every person has online people. If you want to opt out, you just let Teddy know, and then you can just do some silent reflection also here. If you don't want to be in a group, obviously you don't have to. But if you want to, and it can be helpful. So part of our how we learn, or what's helpful for many of us to learn, is actually to practice something and to reflect on it and find words for it, right? So 2 minutes per person, and the prompt is, what did you notice in the meditation around the prompt of, were you able to separate the experience from your relationship towards the experience? And what did you notice separating those two? Yeah, so what's the overall effect? Right? Because usually we are aware of just we like or don't like that experience, and we don't separate that out to say like, no, those are actually 2 different things. Yeah, so anything that feels relevant that you want to share. Okay, so just find 2 people around you about and introduce yourself, say hello, and then we're 2 minutes per person, and online same prompt. Okay, welcome back. Okay. So, anybody wants to share? Like any common themes in your group? Anything you noticed? Let's start with that.
My name is Pam. As I shared with my group mates, I feel like at this point in my practice, I'm pretty good now, and in day-to-day life, of detaching myself from the experience. If it's a negative experience, like a difficult interaction with someone and leaves me feeling sour, I'm pretty able to say, it was just an experience. It's not who I am. But as I shared with my friends here, since I'm feeling pretty grounded and good tonight, I want to stay there. I don't want to detach from that. I don't want to say, oh, that's just a good feeling. It's not who I am.
Yeah,
So is there some little trick with that, or can we actually stay with a good feeling?
that's an awesome question. What do you think?
Oh, well, I'm sure there's a way to see the difference between experiencing something and being the experience. But it's been a long haul with this particular thing that's been lifted, this burden, and so I'm really relishing it.
Yeah, of
I'm very
course, of course.
relishing and
Yeah.
so maybe I'll let it go at some point.
Yeah, no, there's something. Terry, could you turn the light on just on this side of the room here so we're a little bit more light? Great question. Very common question. Yeah, because we're so focused and we want to get away from what's negative. And then finally there's something pleasant and we go like, I can't keep this. Right? It's like, this is not me. Just like, no, it's not. Yeah. But think about it. What does that mean? Is that right? So what's very important is here, and then we like sometimes Buddhism gets the rep that it's anti-pleasure or anti-wanting healthy things. That's not what this is about. Yeah, it's also here about our relationship to it. Yeah, which actually that is what we call wise view. Yeah. So and that is true for both unpleasant and pleasant. Because have you ever had the experience where you were really, really attached to something pleasant and then it changed? Yeah. Or longer term? Was there suffering with that? Right. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Or have you noticed that there was something pleasant, a pleasant experience, and you were afraid to fully feel it because you were afraid it would change and you would get attached to it? Yeah. Yeah. So again, like what we're talking about is that's about our relationship to the experience. Mm. So so thank you for that question. And so for you, absolutely enjoy it. Enjoy the heck out of it. Be fully with it. Yeah. And really experience it. And also, and I know you know this, is like the way you feel right now will not last. It will change again. But that is not bad news. Yeah. That's just nature. Of course, we don't like it. Yeah. When something pleasant changes into something neutral or unpleasant. Yeah. But we really, really want it when we have something unpleasant. We really, really want it to change, right? But change happens regardless of whether it is pleasant or unpleasant. And that is really where we are becoming more equanimous with that. Yeah. So we know it's beautiful, it's pleasant right now. Let's enjoy it. And if it's painful, if it's hard, let's feel it. Yeah. And also know that will change again. And then what we want to look at is really like really looking more at how am I relating to it? And is my relating to it bringing me more freedom? Or is that bringing me more being stuck? Yeah. And that is a very useful inquiry, not just when we're sitting on the cushion. Yeah. So is what is happening right now, am I struggling with that? Am I fighting with that? And the truth is it's here right now. And is you're fighting with it, is it helping? Does it make things easier? Yeah, so we're just stepping away because it's not as easy as to say like, oh, I notice I hate my pain. Now I just stop hating my pain and everything will be okay. No, that's not what I'm saying. Yeah, because of course it's just natural that we don't like what is painful. Well, we don't like what is unpleasant. But yet, can you see how, right? Our relationship adds to the overall experience. Yeah, it kind of is what you put on your sandwich. You will taste that. Yeah, you will taste that in your experience. And as soon as we start to become more curious about that, yeah, we're separating from like just being so lost in the mix that we're not even aware that those are two different things. And I'm neither one of them, actually. I'm not the pain, and I'm also not the hating of the pain. Yeah, because there is a bigger sense of awareness. It's like this, like resting back in awareness, saying like there's pain and there's the hating of it. And then very often what happens when we do this, right, there is suddenly more space and suddenly a little bit more wiggle room for things to, for us to give things permission to be as they are. And then interestingly with that, often then the hating, the resisting, the clinging can start to move a little bit, almost because we're giving it more space. Yeah, so I think we're often not aware that we're literally we're sitting on top of the experience. It's like, go away, go away, go away. It can't because you're sitting on it. Yeah. It's so tight, it cannot move. So, and it can be very scary to give it space, right? Because what we feel is that if I just do this, it goes, does this, right? Something like that. But is that true? Is that true? So, more comments or questions?
Hi. I'm having trouble wrapping
Start
my
with your name again.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm Sarah.
Sarah. Yes.
Wrapping my head around the not with the positive,
Mhm.
like pleasure.
Yeah.
How how do you relate to it in a way, especially when it comes to like romantic love?
Mhm.
How something's starting and it feels so good, and then you're scared that it will end.
Yes.
So that causes anxiety
Yes.
and negative feelings.
Yes.
But then the alternative would be to like be in it, but then you're clinging to the positive, to the pleasure. But then what's the alternative? Because if you separate yourself from it and try not to, then but then how do you like fall in love with a person, or how do you like connect when it comes to like relationships with people? You need to have that, not just romantic, like any. I'm trying to understand how to, yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky. Relationships are tricky. Let me just see if I can come up with an answer that might be helpful for you. I think often what happens is that, especially at the beginning, we overthink things. Yeah. And then we're actually not in the present moment because we're already in the future and anticipating, right? What could happen this way, what could happen this way, as a way to kind of protect ourselves. Yeah. So we go through all the scenarios. So and which is like a very natural thing that we do in order we want to protect us from pain or disappointment. Yeah. But then of course there comes anxiety from that. And then what often happens is that we're not present. We're actually, right? So even when we're with a person is we are like looping. And so the practice is really about, can I be here right now? Can I be in the room? Yeah. So what I said in the practice, and I think that's a really helpful instruction for us to check with yourself. Are you still here? Are you in the room? Right? Where are you? Anybody left the room? Any left the building during the meditation? It would do that all the time. Yeah. Right. And so can you bring yourself back? And then can you be here with what is here? Yeah. And then, of course, sometimes that can be actually quite scary to be present. Yeah. Because that's sometimes, so when we're attending to our experience, it feels sometimes, and especially when we fall in love, like falling in love is by definition that we're out of control, because a fall is out of control. Yeah. And that's beautiful and it's very scary. And so to see, like, and really, so start with, can you feel your feet? Yeah, keep it very simple. So when you notice in any situation, can you still feel your feet? Can you take a breath? Yeah, is that helpful?
Yeah. One more just to
Yeah,
follow up.
yeah.
If you're being present
Yes.
and it's a situation that feels so good and it's like pleasure, but you know
Yeah.
it's temporary because
Yeah.
everything's temporary,
Yes.
then isn't that inherently sad? Or then how do you keep being in the pleasure? Or is that the point? The point is to just be present with it and know
Exactly.
that it'll change, but
Yes.
just be there.
Yes. What else can you do? right?
Just worry and overthink.
Yeah. And when we worry, what happens? We miss the pleasure. Yeah, have you noticed that? Like we're really like disconnected. Oh, this feels way too good. Like, right? And so that's a scary practice, actually, to be present, fully present with something that is pleasurable. Yeah. Like really letting yourself be as fully here as you are present on a meditation cushion with another person, with all the sensations that are there. And also including is like, this is a lot. And this makes me feel a little bit anxious or overwhelmed. And then to see how can you help yourself in that moment? What do you know helps you? Yeah. And because the thing is, if you're not helping yourself, your brain tries to help you by being anxious and worrying. And then we're disconnecting. Yeah. And I think the most beautiful gift we can give another person is our full presence, isn't it? Because we can feel whether the other person is here or not. Yeah. But is not an easy practice. Yeah. Because that feels very vulnerable to be fully present and open with another person. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, no, that's sparks. So let's just actually, I see there are like more hands. Can we just hold the questions for now? Oh, we have like 10 minutes left. I haven't even opened my computer yet. So, but I think we're doing it, right? So we're talk about wise view. So let me just share just a few things. I have a part that goes like, I've prepared for this talk. I have to say at least a few of these things that I put some work into. We can't just chat, that's way too easy. Of course, the preparation of the teacher doesn't happen the day off, but goes over many, many, many years. But I have a good student part that goes like that. So wise view. So just to give you a context of where wise view fits in. So don't have time to go into all like the details, but we have the Four Noble Truths. And the fourth of the Four Noble Truths is the Noble Eightfold Path. That's like all the puzzle pieces. You start pulling at one and you have another list and another list and another list. And so basically for Four Noble Truths is, so the Buddha said, there is no way we can not feel pain and suffering in human life. Doesn't say it's all pain and suffering, not at all, right? There is also pleasure, but usually like we struggle more with the suffering than we struggle with pleasure. Yeah. So people come to practice because they struggle. And so just acknowledging that there's nothing wrong with you, that you experience that's just part of being human. Yeah. And just that can be so helpful. So like, it's nothing wrong with me. Yeah. That's the first noble truth. That's dukkha. And then what the Buddha says, well, the second noble truth is there's a reason why there is suffering. And then again, like to keep it very short, the reason why we're suffering is because we are attached to a different outcome. So we're insisting that life has to be a particular way, even if it's not. And that is where the suffering or where the pain arises. Yeah. And then the third noble truth is, well, there's a way out. Hooray. And the way out is practicing the Noble Eightfold Path, right? And you go like, oh, I just have to remember 4 things. And then it's just like, no, there's a whole list of 8. And the first of those 8 is what's called wise view. And wise view is something, I mean, all the path factors, all 8 factors, they're not just in one order, of course, right? So we work with one. So for example, wise speech or right livelihood or right meditation, like wise, right, wise or right, they're often used interchangeably. And we work on all of them, and there's a continuous, hopefully, a continuous deepening of all the path factors. And as we do this, what we really do is we start to align our life more with this philosophy of it is actually possible to lead a life that has more peace in it, that has more joy in it, that has more ease in it, that has less harm in it for ourselves, for those around us, for the world. That is possible. Yeah. And there is a way how we can relate to each other in a way that is causing less harm. Yeah, but it all starts with like our intention. We want to do this. This is important to us. And I assume that's why you're here. Yeah. Because, yeah, I mean, why are we practicing? Because we have had some sense of relief or freedom from this practice. Just like, oh, right. So the Buddha says, like, don't just believe it, but practice. And if you notice the practice is changing how you feel, then please come back for more. Yeah. But don't just believe it at face value, but put it into practice. And so what is very important, so the core point that I want to make about wise view is to distinguish between so why are we practicing? We're practicing to feel more peaceful, more calm, more centered, all those things that I just named. Is that right? Is that why you're practicing? Yes. Okay. So, but if we are only practicing and going like, oh, once I've practiced good enough, long enough, all these things, then I will experience that, then we're missing the point. Yeah. Because that is kind of wrong view. Because life is happening now. It is not something that happens out there. And so how we can change that is we start to look at not like what is our experience, but how are we relating to our experience? What we just did in that meditation. Yes. So because sometimes people feel like, oh, I have to focus on the breath. If I only feel my breath, and if I'm with my breath more than I'm not with my breath in my meditation, all will be good. No, it's not about the breath. Yeah. The breath is just a mean to keep you in the present moment. It's not about the breath. It's also not about sitting still. Right? So that's just a form, and a form that has proven to be helpful for some people. But it's not about that. It's about how am I relating to what is showing up in my life? How am I doing life? It's not about what I do, to some extent, of course, the extremes, yeah. But as long as we stay like in the ethical parameters, looking at how am I doing things, that will make the difference. So how are you feeling your breath? How are you with your partner? How are you listening to somebody? How are you having a conflict with somebody? How are you consuming news? Does that make sense? That is way more important than the what. Yeah. Because we're so focused on the what. Yeah, so we have like the perfect partner and the perfect job and the perfect education and the perfect meditation and the perfect morning routines. Let's not even get started with morning routines, right? So you do the right morning routines and all will be well, right? No. It's about the how. Yeah. So because the how is, can I really pay attention to and look for moments of space, of freedom, of joy, of connection now? Yeah. And not think like, oh, this is a reward, or that's like the brownie points that I get if I work hard enough. Yeah. So I want to invite you really, so maybe in this next few days, so ask yourself the question, so how am I showing up right now? How am I washing the dishes? How am I folding the laundry? how am I, whatever, picking up my kids or right, doing the things that I often don't like to do, or I do them completely mindlessly. And has anybody of you seen it came out in 2023, the Wim Wenders, he's a German filmmaker, movie Perfect Days? He got an Oscar nomination for Best Foreign Film. And it's an amazing movie about a man who cleans toilets in Tokyo. Maybe heard about that. And it's a very, very slow film. And it just shows his days. So like now often it is so like if you go to a party and people ask you, hey, what do you do? It's like, oh, I clean toilets, public toilets, right? You don't get any points for that. But if you look, if you watch how he is doing that, he does that with such a passion and such dedication. And just this toilets, toilets deserve to be clean for the people who use them. Yeah. And then he's a very educated man. Yeah. And he lives a very, very simple life. And just the way it is depicted, when I was preparing this talk, I was thinking about that again. This is such a great example. And you might know people in your life where you just love how they do things. Is that right? Right? How they take care of things, or how they're so careful with a particular process, which could be, I don't know, making a sandwich, yeah, or anything really. So it's not the what that doesn't have to be big or grandiose or something that you get applause for, but really like, how are you showing up? And then if we're showing up really with care and with love and attention, yeah, what would change? If we would really be more fully present with our senses, actually. Yeah? Because when we're doing that, one thing that we also notice is we can feel more. Yeah? And that is just like a little piece of neuroscience bit here, is when we are unaware, or most of the time our default mode network with all its habits is taking over, which can be very helpful, right? So we have automated things for making sandwiches and all kinds of stuff. But we're doing it on autopilot, and we're actually not getting new information in that is relevant to the present moment, which might be fine when you not be so relevant or really helpful when you're making your sandwich, because this is how you make your sandwich in the morning, right? Very time efficient, or how you dress, right? So autopilot. But then think about, we do that everywhere. We have a pattern. Yeah. So how you talk to particular people, the people in your life, the relationships, a lot of that is on autopilot, and is actually based on how the instances, the similar situations have happened before, because our brain will predict this is exactly the same. And then we treat situations or people exactly the same. And what we're missing is what mindfulness can bring us. It can open that to say but just a question, is there anything right now in my experience that I wasn't aware of before? Because our default mode network cannot ask that question. Yeah, because it predicts. Yeah, it is not what is here that I wasn't aware of before. And as soon as we do this, we're kind of kicked out of the default mode network. They call that the house of habit. Yeah, so we're kicked out of it, and then things are open, and we can do things differently. And then we can really come back to, how am I doing things? And can I bring awareness to how I'm doing this right now? And then as we're doing this more, really things that might really feel like tedious, yeah, can actually become surprisingly enjoyable. Yeah. If you've ever done the dishes mindfully, right? What's so bad about doing the dishes or folding the laundry? It's actually, for me at least, that was a big insight that I had. It's the idea. It's like I have the idea of this is a waste of time. I shouldn't be doing this, like blah, blah, blah. My kids, blah, 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 right? Why are they? And so, but actually picking up clothes, like smell of fresh laundry, like there's something can be very satisfying of just like having a mess and then having neat little piles. You know what I'm talking about? Right. So that actually can be quite a pleasurable experience if I get out of my habit of thinking, right? My perception of the experience, and then actually having the experience. Okay, so I need to stop myself, otherwise I'll be talking for another half an hour. So our time here is up, and I will close so that people who want to head out on time can do this. If you have a question, I'm happy to hang around for a couple more minutes here. And so, because I know there were some more hands up. So if your question is still relevant, happy to answer that. So, and Teddy, we're we're putting everything back, right? So, yeah. Okay. So if you can just put the mats and cushions over into that corner, stack the chairs against the wall, I think not higher than 5 chairs up. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful summer. I'll see you in August. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yes.
Going for the default.